Yeah, so let's just move on to a film we saw very recently. So, finally we're going to have more fresher thoughts than talking about movies we saw weeks ago. My Entire High School Sinking to the Sea, which is a comedy film, animated film by Dash Shaw that was screened last year at TIFF and was released theatrically just recently for a limited release by the good people at G-Kids. Yeah, so it's a pretty fun film that is basically kind of about this kid Dash, who is like super like narcissistic and self-absorbed, and like he and his buddies are like working for the school newspaper. No one reads the school newspaper, but like he's obsessed with like purple prose and writing like really dramatically about everything and like gossip and juicy stories. But then he also gets super jealous about his friend Asaf and his editor Verdi kind of getting into a relationship. So he writes like a scandalous piece that kind of shames Asaf. And that like forms a rift in their friendship, so there's some fun. Like the main characters are a lot of fun, but mainly the film is kind of just a metaphor for like maturing, like growing up, I guess. Like it's very much about teenage problems and kind of dealing with like high school is this confusing place in your life. Like, the high school literally sinks into the sea, but it's also like metaphorical as in, these kids are feeling like they're on a sinking ship. Like they feel like they're drowning under the pressures of like the education system and social relationships, and they have to find a way to climb out of it and kind of persevere through that. And they do that by forming like close bonds with one another and close friendships that pull them out of it and pull them through. So, it's a good message. But the main draw of the film, really, to me, is its unique visuals. It's deliberately going for, like, a crude, pencil... sketchy look. Sketchy, aesthetic. Like, something you kind of get a sense out if you were looking in a student's notebook and seeing random scribbles and drawings. And that's kind of the sensibility of the film in terms of its humor and its aesthetical style, is that it's very crude, it's very, like, sophomoric, and it's juvenile, but it's also, like, a witty kind of juvenile. Like, it's very self-aware of the fact that a lot of what its sense of wit is kind of, a little dumb, or, like, a little, like, immature. And that's what makes it kind of fun, is because it feels like it captures like the sensibility of a teenager and like a kind of story they would think of, and a kind of crazy like scenario they would think about in terms of like creating a metaphor about their school life and how they're really feeling, and kind of capturing different aspects of characters in a bunch of different social circles and like how they feel about each other and the kind of pressures they're feeling. Like the girl who's in the student council, Mary, like she, is very dependent on her social group of friends and like kind of being with the crowd at first. But then she realizes those relationships aren't like necessarily genuine, like when she tries to go off and do something on her own. And they don't really care about it. So, stuff like that is pretty, there's some good, like, ideas in here. I feel that at times, though, the style is a little too unrefined, because there were times where, like, it was too visually overboard, and, like, it was, like, too distracting, like, how crude everything is, how everything is constantly moving, because there's no consistency to the character designs. And it's all intentional, like, it's all an aesthetic choice, and, like, I really appreciate that, because they do interesting things with how flat everything looks, and with their color design especially, and I just, like, appreciate that kind of experimentation. Like, throw everything at the wall, see what cool things you can do. And oftentimes, like, it looks pretty stunning. Like, that sequence in the elevator has some really great dramatic lighting with the stark blacks with some gold coloring. And that was, like, really cool use of silhouettes, and set a really cool mood for that scene. Really, really like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I kind of have similar sentiments there where, yeah, I feel like the visuals kind of got a bit messy at times due to the whole, like, sketchy look and what it was going for. But at the same time, there's still those great scenes like the elevator that are very, like, well lit. These very, like, kind of dynamic type scenes. The other scene that I really kind of like is the more abstract scene where it's kind of trying to... There's this one scene where the main character, Dash, pretty much thinks that he's gonna die, and then it goes in this whole, like, kind of trippy sequence of, like, colors and stuff.
Yeah, that was a great visualization of what death kind of looks like, or how to imagine, like, the idea of kind of dying. Like, I really like that, like, visualization. It was really interesting to watch, even though, like, it was kind of hard to figure out, okay, what are they going for at first? But then you kind of get it.
Yeah,
like,
okay, yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah. And so, yeah, there's some, even, the animation, it can range from limited to, well, it's mostly limited. It's very crude, and a lot of it looks very awkward.
You're not going to this film for the animation itself. You're going for this film for the charm and execution of its themes, I feel.
Well, more so, I think, for the humor and the aesthetic. I think this is actually going to be a great film to get high to.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of film, like, I feel like you'd find on Adult Swim or Comedy Central.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And then you just watch it because it's...
Adult Swim needs to pick this up, broadcast it in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
People would get so confused.
But yeah, there's some fun characters, especially the lunch lady, Lorraine.
Oh, she was cool.
Is hilarious. And yeah, she was also pretty badass.
She was like G.I. Joe, the lunch lady.
Yeah. Like, and she's like, kind of thinks of herself as kind of like this superhero.
At the end, she's like, pretty much Batman. She's like...
Yeah, she jumps off her fucking roof.
The freshmen need me. I must go to the next cafeteria.
Yeah, that was great. So I enjoyed the film. I guess it didn't live up necessarily to my expectations of it. Like, I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would, necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, like, the trailers, I feel, kind of painted it more as, like, a full-up, like, comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Where once you get into the film, and you start seeing all the scenes from the trailer, the scenes that happen after that are kind of fucked up. Like, there's this one scene where, like, in the trailer, it's Dash trying to tell this girl, like, jump! I'm buff enough to catch you. And then, like, right after that scene, she does jump. But Dash doesn't catch her, and then she literally gets eaten by sharks.
Yeah, but it's dark comedy. It's not like... it's dark comedy.
I wasn't expecting people to die.
Yeah, I mean, it's a movie called Entire High School Senior. Actually, a lot of people died. Most of the kids died.
Pretty much everyone in the school died.
I love it when the football jock, Brent, he like, falls off, like, and he onto a bus, and, like, his entire body, like, splits apart, like he's a doll, and it's like, whoa.
Shit.
That was pretty great. So this film was done by Dash Shaw, he named the main character after himself. And he actually went to School of Visual Arts, the school I go to, as a cartoonist.
Oh,
so
awesome.
I really like, looking up his style, he's always like a mix of hand drawing and animation, Photoshop, and so I think that attributes to his style. And it's pretty cool, he kind of made this film. And yeah, I thought it was pretty. You can definitely tell it was a film made by someone outside of the normal, like, animation circle, just being in that circle. Like, this was made from an outsider perspective, and, like, I definitely got that indie cartoonist sensibility from it. So I think that's part of the appeal of the film. So even though it's not particularly, like, brilliantly animated. It's brilliantly, like, directed in terms of, like, its style, I think.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed this movie. Unfortunately, you're probably not going to be able to see it, I don't think, at this point.
I mean, G-Kids did say that they're planning to release on a home video, I think, so...
Yeah,
So in a few months it should be out, hopefully.
Yeah, that'd be. I would recommend you checking this out if you're into like kind of more abstract animated films with like an indie comic sensibility. I don't know if I would say that this is one of the better like kinds of these kind of movies I've seen in terms of like really abstract indie out there animated films. But I do think this was a really fun movie that had some cool, nice themes and was just a fun time to watch. I disagree with like this guy in the theater. So we didn't describe our hearing experience for this one. But you know, there weren't a whole lot of people in the theater because we went to the very last showing at Lagoon Cinema. That was like at 9:30. So there were only a couple other people in the theater, but there was one guy who was like, clearly he didn't like enjoy the movie that much. He was kind of disappointed about it. He's saying, you know, they could have just done this in live action. I disagree about that because
it kind of loses a lot of its charm in live action. Yeah, and
the point was for this more artistic experimentation. You know, that was part of the reason I think this film was made the way it was. So I think that a similar film to this can be made in live action and could be interesting, but I don't think this film specifically could have been done.
When I think about a lot of like even the death scenes and stuff, I feel would not share the same tone if it was live action. The girl getting eaten by the shark and then them seeing like the skeleton. That's more of just like a crude like violence type thing. But if you did that live action, that would be like kind of actually disturbing.
It'd be too disturbing for you to find that funny.
Because the point of those scenes isn't for it to be like completely violent and scary. It's supposed to like set this kind of whole crude like teenager type tone of this dramatization.
Right. I mean, like the way she gets ripped apart by the shark is super crude and childish, like something a child would write in a notebook. Like, exactly. That's what the film is going for.
So if you did that in live action, that would not give the same like sense.
Yeah, you can't replicate that style of imagination and like way of thinking about like these kind of ideas in live action.
Right.
But overall, I would recommend my entire high school senior to see. I would recommend all the movies we've just talked about. They were all pretty fun films.
Check them out if they're still in theaters or on home video or wherever.
Yeah.
Yeah.